Josie, with everything we discussed before the game in terms of the mitigating circumstances, the injuries, the long list, the never-ending list, is this a game that you could have turned around with the players that you had on the pitch tonight?
Look, of course I was very positive yesterday, and that's the way I have to be all the time. If I'm not positive, it's better not to come to the game. So yes, I was positive, yes, I motivate the players, and yes, we all believe. But we know that in this moment is very, very difficult. They are a very, very strong side. And we start the game, again, we had an opportunity that I saw the ball inside. It looks for me almost an own goal. In this moment, it's very difficult for us to score. If you look to us lately, it was Rudiger that scored for us, was a penalty. It's hard. Then they come, and our first couple of mistakes, and they score. And after that, the game, of course, is very, very difficult. Their physicality is very impressive. They have incredible physicality. The three defenders, they win the duels. When they don't win it, they make falls with their physicality. They stop the game. Midfield very intense. The attacking play is very fast. So even when we have the ball and we cannot hurt people, we know that they can hurt us all the time. So, of course, they deserve to get through. They were the best team, but if I can be critical of some of my players with some mistakes that we did, I keep this for us, and I go to the globality, and they try to give what they can give, and that's it.
But talking of some of those mistakes, because we've talked a lot about the offensive players that are missing, defensively, should the team have done much better?
We made mistakes, and we made mistakes that we analyze in previous matches. But sometimes it's just when you don't have more to give, you give what you can. And I never blame players with some difficulties. Normally it's more difficult for me to cope with players with potential that they cannot express their potential than the ones that are playing in their limits, and I cannot ask more from them. So I am with the boys, and that's it.
You came here with a remit, with a plan, with a project. How detrimental is this exit from Europe to the club's ambitions going forward?
I think probably is good. Sometimes difficult moments are moments that can prepare the future in a better way. Of course, there is nobody to blame when it looks like in every match we have a traumatic injury, and every traumatic injury that ends with month and month. So just before the first game against Leipzig, we lost Son 2 days before. We come to the second game, we lost Bergwijn before, and I don't want to speak about the ones that we lost so long ago. And that's the history of this season. This season started with, of course, problems, and you look to the results, and you look at when I arrived, the position that we were in the table. But then the negative history starts with Hugo's first injury, and it looks like is non-stop. You come to a Champions League knockout game, and look to our bench, and look to the pitch with Tanganga on his first match, Sessegnon on his second match. It's very, very hard, and I can't blame the players, because the players, they gave what they can.
Are we looking?
I was with him until the part where he said that he thinks that this is good for the future of Spurs Football Club, and that kind of loses me there, because
that's who he is.
How does that work out?
That's who he is, because he wants the board to know they need to retool, they need to buy, they need to get better. He's pragmatic. He likes to start fights.
The response from this match is going to be interesting. They have United on the weekend, who's a team that's actually in form, so he's got to quickly find some kind of solution, whether it's tactically, whether it's personnel, giving opportunity to some other players, getting Ndombele back on his side and finding a way to get him back in his best form. But he has to find a way to inspire this group of players. This is a deflating defeat over 2 legs, which they were outperformed on both legs, and it could have been a much bigger scoreline. So this is when it's really on to him to find a way to inspire this group of players.
Is he still an inspiring manager?
From the outside, I would say no, but I'm not inside that locker room every day and can't judge. And to your question about this being good for the club, it's only good if you have the solutions to the problem, and I'm not sure he does.
All right, we're going to bring you more after the break. Don't move. We'll be right back. We're listening to Dele Alli there talk about mentality, because it's one of the things that Mourinho had said in the pre-game press conference. He'd said that, knowing the number of players and the top-class players that they were missing, the psychological side of this game was going to be absolutely massive. Would you put it down to mentality, or do you think that something else was missing today on the pitch, Phil?
I think mentality was only one of the issues. I think there's simple things. Obviously, in a difficult game where you're missing players, work rate is something that you can never negate. And something that, when you compare their work rate, you compare Leipzig, there was always one team that was on the pitch there. Leipzig, collectively, they were aggressive. They won second balls. They did the dirty work. They did the scrappy work. They weren't only just concerned with doing the flashy part of getting in the box and scoring goals. No, they were willing to work on both sides of the ball, and I think that was a glaring difference between the two sides. Obviously, they lacked a lot of quality. The players that are out injured, yes, that did show up, because in the final third, they lacked creativity, they lacked ideas, and they lacked that clinical edge in the final third. But mentality definitely played a role.
Go ahead.
Well, credit to Dele Alli. I mean, it's a tough interview to give after a loss and being knocked out. Look, he talked about apologizing to the fans. Then he talked about being right up for it. If you're right up for it and you're fighting, you don't have to apologize to anybody. They lack quality today. I don't think there's a team spirit there. So I think that was all a little bit of fluff.
It's hard to judge from the outside, isn't it? Whether there's a team spirit there.
Well, I think you'd have saw it. I think Leipzig has team spirit. I don't think Tottenham does, based on their performance.
One of the things that you talked about before the game started was Mourinho and the fact that he is famous for parking the bus. He is famous for getting those defensive, not necessarily a pretty result, but a result that counts for them. Is that not present for them right now? Could he have done that differently today?
Because of the first leg, he was forced into playing a hand he didn't want to play.
Okay.
And because they conceded that goal, it meant that they couldn't just come in and say to Leipzig for 65 minutes, we're going to be compact, we're just going to play it long, we're going to get it up to Lucas Moura and see if we can get anything. And I think, to your point as well, not having Kane, not having Son, not having, a horse in the middle like Sissoko that would just run around and, get stuck in and really drive the team forward. They were missing some really key players today. And you could see that in the quality, a little bit of inexperience, but give themselves a chance. They never felt like, once that first goal went in, we were all saying that's game over, because I didn't see any way that Tottenham were going to create and score a goal today.
But tactically speaking, Mourinho, when he parks the bus, he always has a number 6 who can get side to side, who's athletic, who can give the ball to strikers and wingers who can score goals, and then the number 6 just sits in front of the back 4. They don't have the 6 to do that, who's athletic enough, and they don't have the strikers to give the ball to, who can put the ball in.
So is it selection as well? I mean, he left Vertonghen on the bench,
But when you looked at the starting 11, you felt like it was a decent starting 11.
No, it was the best of a bad bunch, really. If we're it's fair. I mean,
best of a depleted bunch. I don't know if it's best of a bad bunch.
Some of those players aren't Champions League quality for a round of 16 in the Champions League, in my opinion. I mean, you have a number of younger players in there that are still finding their feet and still getting experience. So, yeah, maybe a bad bunch is probably harsh, but if you're looking at Spurs' squad in general, that wouldn't have been anywhere close to the 11 that Mourinho would have liked to field today.
I'm laughing only because I'm laughing only because, I mean, there's a lot of truth to that. But look, we can point the finger of blame at Mourinho. When you're on the pitch, as soon as you cross those white lines, you have to assume a certain amount of responsibility. And I don't think enough of those players did that today. I don't think enough of them said, you know what, I'm going to make a difference in this game, whether it's from whether it's me making a special play, whether that's on the ball or off the ball, whether it's me holding people next to me accountable, me grabbing this person and saying, look, we're not conceding today. The first goal they give up, it's a shot from the top of the box. It doesn't get closed down. Granted, he struck it early, but there's a few different players that can make a play on that. And your boy in goal, he's got to do better as well. The second goal, it's a midfield run. No one tracks the runner. Those are things that necessarily aren't tactical. That's not Mourinho saying, I need to have a different player playing the number 6. No, whoever's playing that role, track your runner.
But we talk about blame. At the end of the day, this is the end of an era. I don't think they'll make Champions League next year. They haven't spent, and they sacked the manager who was right for the team. And so, essentially, they're going to have to finish this chapter, tear it all up, and move on and figure it out.
To that point, for me, what hurts as a neutral, I enjoyed watching Spurs play. I loved what that team was about, the identity and I think Spurs fans sitting at home watching this will felt the same way. And that was the thing. When you bring in a guy like Mourinho, you can take the negativity and the parking the bus if it comes with results. But when it doesn't come with results, it's a bad recipe.
To be fair to him, for a period it did come with results, right? They kind of righted the ship for a minute. He came in when Spurs were in a bad shape, kind of righted the ship for a minute, and then all these injuries began accumulating and things went a little bit off path for him.
It's fair, but, you know, I think any new manager typically gets that new manager bump, and you know, the guys are refreshed, there's new training, there's, you know, a little bit of a buzz around the place, and then all of a sudden when things go bad, they go really bad when they don't.
You know who you want to hear from right now?
Who?
Jose Mourinho.